After my wife cheated on me and lied to me, I gave her unimaginable revenge. I had read similar stories before, but never thought that this would happen in real life, especially to me. So, when my wife said to me at dinner, "Honey, we need to talk," you can imagine how shocked I was. My heart was racing, and I prepared myself for what was to come. Was she going to admit to cheating? Did she want a divorce? I couldn't help wondering what had gone wrong. I looked across at her, my hands trembling as I tried to remain calm and find out what was going on. First I wanted to say I love you. She started to take a sip of her wine, looking nervous. I noticed that she hadn't eaten much. I watched her every movement closely, hoping to find a clue to what she was going to say. I couldn't stand the tension any longer and blurted out, "Have you been unfaithful?" Maggie's expression changed, and she looked at me with wide eyes. Never, she assured me, she would never betray you, although her emphasis on the word cheat made me uneasy. I felt a little relieved. If it wasn't infidelity, what could it be? "Are you thinking of leaving me?" I asked, fearing the worst. "Oh, George," she sighed, "where do you get these ideas?" "I would never leave you, I love you," I replied. "I love you too, and I hope we can grow old together and share our lives." A smile spread across Maggie's face, and she laughed heartily. "Me too, George." Then what happened? "Are you okay?" I started to worry about her health. "I'm fine, darling," she assured me. "I didn't mean to worry you, but I've been feeling a bit off lately. Meredith is at college, and it feels like everything has changed. It could be empty nest syndrome or a midlife crisis, but we seem to be at an impasse. I feel some relief, but I'm still worried about the problems plaguing Maggie. With work, we hardly have any time to spend together. Your work often takes you away, and I work late into the night. When we're not working, we're both exhausted. When was the last time we were intimate? When was the last time we had love?" I respond honestly to her questions. "I can't remember. Maggie hasn't been interested in that for a long time. I had to masturbate alone for months. It's been a while, but every time I try anything, even something minor, you reject me. Always with excuses." "I'm serious." Maggie admitted that I know I'm usually exhausted when you're in the mood, but when we were younger we didn't stop because we were tired. We used to have intimacy 3 or 4 times a week, and now it seems like once every 3 or 4 months. If that's true, I agree with her. I'm frustrated. It sounds like she's blaming me for the lack of intimacy, when in fact it's her who always refuses. "If it were up to me, we would be more intimate. I want to break this routine," she explains. "I want to improve our relationship so that we can live together. We're both bored, George, we need a change." I retort, "I'm not bored, I'm full of excitement in my life." She asks me with a smile, "What are your plans for tonight?" "Tonight they will make a major discovery." I replied that I was thinking about her comment. "Don't they say that every week? All they'll find is a pile of mud and bits of wood." Well, I admit that's more or less true. She grinned and said, "Boring." Well, it's not boring, it's comfortable. We're comfortable, just like we have been for so long, or maybe you're just used to it. I don't want to be used to it. Maggie explained that when we first got married, you used to be used to me every night. It's been years since I've done that, and that's the problem. I put down my fork and ask, "Do you want me to rape you? Take your pants off, bend over the table, and I'll rape you right now." That's not what I want. George, to be honest, I have just as little interest in being intimate with you as you do. This is the state of our life right now. We've lost our passion, and that worries me. We have 40 seconds left. We still have years left. My concern is, if we've already lost our romantic interest in each other, what will be left of us in a few years? How can we continue to be together? We'll stick together because we're married, and that's what married people do. We're used to each other, we're comfortable, and who says I'm not interested in intimacy with you? Of course I am. We're like roommates now, George, but comfortable roommates. I think we're more than roommates. I mean, we still have intimacy every now and then, and we love each other, so we're roommates with the occasional perk. Yes, I love you, George, and I know you love me too, but can you honestly say that you're still as infatuated with me as you were when we got married all those years ago? It's not the same. I tried to explain that, like a fine wine, our love had matured and deepened over time. We were old now, and our desires weren't as strong as they once were, but maybe, she said, taking my hand. Don't you want to feel excited and passionate again, like you used to? I don't know, Marge. I kind of like it the way it is. I mean, sure, I want to be more intimate, but I like coming home and just being calm with you. We've worked so hard for it, just like that old hammock in the backyard. It's been there for almost 20 years, and every year I tell myself that one day I'll finally relax and read a book in it. And now, when I'm finally ready to do that, you say you want to get rid of it. Maggie looks at me, thinking about what I've said, and then shakes her head. I don't understand, but I'm not asking you to give anything up, darling. What I'm saying is that we need to get romantic again, spice up our love life, before it's too late. My desire hasn't gone, it's just dormant. I want to recapture the passion we once had, when we were always in the mood for sex. Are you saying our sex life is no longer satisfactory? No, not at all. You're a great lover, considerate and skilled, you always know how to please me, and I've never pretended with you. The problem isn't that our intimacy is bad, it's that we never seem to want it. What are you talking about? I'm asking you, I'm lost. I'm saying I need more. It feels like we're not lovers anymore, just partners. I want to feel your love for me again. I want to feel my love for you again. I want passion, I want desire, I want romance, I want intimacy, but you say you don't want intimacy. I want intimacy, and it sounds like you want to feel young again. Are you sure it's not just hormones? Do you get hot flashes? Don't be ridiculous, George, she interrupted, don't trivialize my feelings, don't blame me just because I'm a woman with hormonal imbalances. Just because I'm sad doesn't mean I have PMS, and just because I want to rekindle our love doesn't mean I'm going through menopause. I'm sorry, you're right, I haven't thought this through. I just want to figure out why this is happening all of a sudden. Honey, it's not happening all of a sudden. I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm afraid that if we don't make some major changes to rekindle our relationship, our marriage won't last. She looks like she's about to cry. I understand what she means. To be honest, we haven't taken our relationship seriously for a while. Okay, if it's not happening all of a sudden, why am I bringing it up now? Why didn't you bring it up sooner? If you had told me about this sooner, it would have taken me a long time to figure it out. She says, but I'm bringing it up now because I don't want it to keep bothering me. Maybe she's got a point. I care about Maggie, and I'd do anything to make her happy and strengthen our relationship. Okay, I'm all ears. You've obviously given this a lot of thought, and it's important to you. What should we do? Should we go to a marriage counselor? I've heard of those. Should I look into that? She says, those are good ideas, and she wipes away a tear with a smile, thank you for the suggestion. I think we should consider it. I have some other ideas. For example, let me ask you something first. Your company is a creative agency, right? You always tell me that you are the best in the business, right? Yes, we are the top 2 in the state, and maybe the top 5 in the country. Why? What does this have to do with our love life? Are you hiring the best people? Of course we are hiring the best people. How many of them have been here for 20 years? No, our company is only 6 years old, and we are always bringing in fresh talent. We have a high staff turnover in our industry. So you are always bringing in new blood with new ideas and approaches? Yes, we place great importance on innovation. Our way of doing things is always evolving, and these newcomers constantly bring new skills and energy, so that everyone, and yes, that is the point, George, how do you plan to continue developing all this? Next month we will be celebrating our 20th anniversary. Before that, we worked together exclusively for 3 years. I have been faithful to you all along, and as far as I know, you have been faithful to me. That means we've been together for almost 23 years. You were the first person I ever went out with, and as you said, you only had 2 girlfriends before me. I replied that I was starting to feel uneasy, not knowing how things would develop, and that I had a knot in my stomach. Well, if someone had mastered their skills 23 years ago but never updated them, and had no new ideas or education, would you employ them in your company? Would you want employees who only practice once in a while? If everyone stopped trying to improve and innovate, would your company be a first-class company? Of course not. But this is work, and it's about us. What's your point? My point is that 23 years ago we were at the top of our game, we were very close, we were together a lot, life was full of new experiences, but then life changed, we became parents, then professionals, busy with our various activities, honing our skills in these fields, but losing sight of the connections between us. We kept doing things the way we did 23 years ago, and it became boring. Our passion faded, and we grew tired of the monotonous life and lost our passion. What do you want to tell me, Marge? I want to say that I'm tired of living a comfortable life, George. I'm bored. I want something new, I want passion, I want to learn new things, to get better at making love, I want to use that to rekindle our spark, to change our dull, comfortable lives, I want to feel love again, I want a passionate partner, not just a roommate, I need that passion, okay? As I talk my voice is shaking, I'm trembling, I don't know if it's anxiety or adrenaline, maybe it's an impulse from my SS. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to bring the passion back. We could go on regular dates and do the things you like. I'll cut down on the TV and we can cultivate a shared hobby together. We could travel more. You like to travel, so why not go somewhere every month, even if it's just a night in a trendy hotel in town? Maggie took my hand, kissed it and shook her head. George, I know you're willing to do anything for me, if you could. I know you think these ideas will help, but in the end we have to do it ourselves. We're still stuck in the same daily routine and nothing will really change. Soon we will get bored of it all again. These suggestions are a start, but they are still too comfortable. We are not really learning or exploring anything new. So what is your plan? I have been paying attention, but now I am lost. What exactly do you suggest we try? Should we go to a swinger resort or something? Oh, God, no, she replies, making a disgusted face and saying, I can't stand those places. I don't want to deal with sleazy people and casually get close to them. Not at all. So what should I do? I felt frustrated and said, I think we need something new to revitalize our relationship, something fresh and exciting to rekindle our love and make our sex life passionate again. At the moment, I'm willing to consider anything. She suggested, that sounds interesting, I'm willing to try it. Do you have any suggestions? Let's do it. I think I should start dating other people. Apart from that, wow, wait. I said I was taking my hands off my wife and looked at her quizzically. Say that again, I didn't catch that. I said I was considering dating other people. Yes, I heard that. I said, leaning back in my chair and then leaning forward again, staring at my wife as if she were crazy. Are you serious? She seemed surprised by my reaction. Yes. Yes, I've thought it through and I think it's what we need. Maggie, you've had some crazy ideas in the past, but this one is the craziest. George, if you just let me explain, you'll understand. Please do explain. How do you propose to improve our relationship and spice up our sex life? George, I'm not talking about cheating on you, not at all. So you want to go out with other men instead of going out with me? Men instead of me, yes, exactly, real dates, like romantic dates, yes, that's the plan, just like when we weren't married, we'd go on real dates. I hadn't thought of it like that, but yes, real dates, so will he get intimate with you on the first date, or will you make him wait like you do with me? George, I never mentioned intimacy, but you're talking about real dates, like you did when you weren't married, and on real dates, people often become intimate. So you're saying intimacy is not allowed on your dates? No, that's not what I meant. So you're willing to get intimate with them? I didn't say that either. I just said I want to see how things go, how the relationship develops. So you not only want to date other men, you're willing to get intimate with them and develop a relationship. George, you've misinterpreted what I meant. Maggie, you're only interested in the answer you want to hear, yes or no. Would you fall in love with any of these dates? She paused. It wasn't that simple, yes or no. I suppose so, then it's infidelity. No, it's not infidelity. You're dating another man, going on romantic dates with him, getting intimate, that's infidelity. I was furious and quickly lost my cool. If I wasn't careful, things could get really bad. Maggie tried to remain calm and provoke me, as if she wanted to prove that she was more civilized than I was, and that it would not be cheating, she reasoned, because you would agree with and approve of me, you would know all the details of who I was with and what I was doing, and we would share everything when I got home. God, I exclaimed, emphasizing each word, not only do you want to betray me, but you also want to humiliate me completely. Why? How could I ever agree to you dating or allow you to be with someone else? What is wrong with you? Do you really think I will accept this nonsense? George, please calm down, we can talk, there is no need to shout or use rude language. I stared at her. Do you really think I will accept this? I know it may be hard for you to understand, but you love me and you are a reasonable person. You're smart, and I think you will calm down, see the sense in it and agree to support me in supporting you. Yes, when you're with other men, George, it's not just about being with other men. If that's what I wanted, believe me, I could be with lots of people for years. Hell, I could be with your brother, your friends, even your boss, all of whom have tried to seduce me countless times, but I haven't. I would never cheat on you, I would never do that to you, but you're suggesting that I do it now. Honey, she corrected me, it's not about cheating, it's not just for me, it's for both of us, it will bring excitement, fun and new experiences, our sex life will come alive again, I will feel alive again and you will be a part of it. We're together, do you want me to join you on these dates? No, I mean together in a broader sense, not literally. You stay home, I go on dates, and when I get back I tell you all the details. I laughed. So you want him to please you after you, even clean up after him. She blushed, she really blushed. I couldn't believe it, she really wants me to do that. Well, it's the ultimate way for you to show your love. I'd rather freeze to death than do that. I told her coldly. Okay, we can skip the part where she proposed, unless you want to ruin our marriage you skip the whole thing. It's not going to destroy our marriage, you being intimate with another man. No, sex won't. George, I'm saving this for you, I love you, not him. It's just sex, yes, just sex. I observed her for a moment. What exactly did that mean? It means there will be no emotions, we're just exploring each other's bodies, that's all, just sex. I responded, pondering her words. To be precise, let me get this straight. Sure. Take your time. You want to just have fun with another man. I clarified slowly. If it comes to that, yes, she confirmed. Then why just have fun with someone else? She didn't answer immediately. Well, I guess it's to try something new. This means I'm not meeting your needs, you're not satisfied with me, you want someone better, etc. No, Maggie protested, that's not true, I like being intimate with you, you're great in bed, I don't want anyone else. If that was the case, you reasoned calmly, you wouldn't consider anyone else, you'd only have sex with someone new to upgrade and find someone better than you. That's not true, she retorted, there's no proof, but it's true, I retorted, think about it. If you like sushi and you now discover that there's the best sushi restaurant in the world next door, but there are also 20 other sushi restaurants in town, now that you found the best sushi restaurant, why would you want to try the other 20? She thought for a moment, then replied, I want to try something different, but since you know this is the best, why would you go anywhere else? I asked, of course not, you would just explore other places. If you think somewhere else might be better, maybe just maybe, one of them might surpass the one you love. I'm a little confused, she admits, sounding a little frustrated. If it's just about the act, why look elsewhere? If you're happy with our bed life, if I satisfy you, why can't we be more intimate? We hardly do it. If you just want more, we could do it more often, but instead you'd rather do it with someone else, who might be better or worse. Obviously it's not just about intimacy, or you're not satisfied with me, or you think he might be better. I don't know. She says, confused, that you're making things complicated, but that's not true. Okay, it's all about the behavior. Yes, how many times do I have to say it? Okay, if that's true, I have a suggestion. I smile, and she seems to light up, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. If it's just about the behavior, then I'm willing to let you explore that. She seems taken aback. Are you willing to do that? I'll hire a male escort to come here and be intimate with you. I'll make sure he's talented pleasuring women. I'll make sure he's well endowed and in good health, so you can have unprotected sex with Johnson. Then you can play the role of an escort. Are you crazy? She exclaimed, because it was only about the act. If it's only about the act, then it doesn't matter who it is, he's just a stranger for your enjoyment, I retorted. In fact, it's a better option because he's random, you can't possibly know him, it'll be over quickly, you get what you want without taking an emotional risk. You're making me sound like a street hooker. I don't want to have sex with a stranger. I need to have sex with someone I'm connected to, not just an object. With a smile, so it's not just intimacy, you want more, you want to be intimate with a specific person because you have chemistry. Her face reddened again, she couldn't respond. In the end she said okay, maybe it's partly true, but it wouldn't make sense. I smiled. What do you mean? It wouldn't make sense for either of us, for him, for you, for me. We both know it's just physical. He knows I love you. He doesn't expect more. Do you really believe it wouldn't make sense for you? I believe. Then why do it, if it's meaningless? Maggie, you're not making sense. If you know it's meaningless, why do it? If it's meaningless, you won't want to do it. You want to be with him because it does mean something. She buried her face in her hands and groaned. You're driving me crazy. It does mean something to me. We agreed to get married, but now you want to throw all that away just to try it with someone else. You want to explore this intimacy with someone else, and you feel a connection between you. You're not satisfied with our intimacy, nor with our sex life, so you want to seek an upgrade. No, that's not true. She muttered weakly. So you want to sleep with him and see if he's not as good as me, if his small dick doesn't satisfy you. She just stared at me. Of course not. I interrupted. If you thought it might be the same as ours or worse, you wouldn't even consider it. You're interested because you believe or at least suspect that it will be better. The thought of it turns you on. I don't know, she shouted. I've never thought about it like that. You're confusing me. So what happens when he satisfies you more than me and you come home? Have you ever considered me? She began and then paused. I've never considered that. What are you talking about? I mean, after you've had a more intimate experience with someone else, how can you expect things to be the same between us as they were before? You say you're doing this to spice up our sex life, but if he's better than me, you probably won't want to be with me. You'll long for him, or even worse, I know you'll just be going through the motions. How can our relationship continue? We can only continue as before. How can we continue as before? Maggie, what do you mean? How can I continue as before, knowing full well that I can't satisfy you? How can I kiss you, knowing full well that the kisses of another man mean more to you? How can I touch you, knowing that his touch is more to your liking? She looked at me silently. How can I be intimate with you again, knowing that you may be thinking of him, and if he is better than me, how can you be satisfied with me? I didn't marry you to be your spare tire. She shook her head, but that's not going to happen. If that's not going to happen, why even try? You considered it because you thought it would be great, unlike anything we'd experienced before, otherwise you wouldn't have considered it at all. She didn't answer, and I continued, do you know what's worse? I have no winner in this. I love you, find you fascinating, and want only you. I thought our sex life was great, but now you've shut it down. It doesn't matter how good we are together, you're only thinking about how good it would be with him, the new excitement, the thrill of being naughty, the adventure, all the things that fire you up, and even though we're the same in every way, you'd still probably think he's better. I can't win, he's the winner, no matter what happens. She stared at me, speechless. I was so angry. Who put all this rubbish in your head, George? Please, Marge. Fuck you, George. No, I'm serious, leave me alone. This is all bullshit. I will never agree to you dating anyone. I will not stand by and watch it happen. If you think I'm going to let someone else touch you, then you're not the same person I married decades ago. You've become a wild man who doesn't care about our marriage. She was completely stunned. I've never spoken so harshly before. She said, tears were streaming down her face. No, I haven't. I said calmly, my voice firm. You're not taking this seriously enough. Get out of my house. I don't want to see you again. You're right, we won't last 20 years. It's over now. Just the thought that you've brought this up tells me you've already quit our marriage, so leave. I'm not leaving. This is ridiculous. I live here. I'm your wife. We live here. You can't just throw me out. Let's talk about this like adults. Fine. You stay. I grabbed the keys and wallet off the counter and went through the kitchen to the garage. She asked where I was going. Her voice was full of panic. Her face was streaming with tears. She stared at me in disbelief. Anywhere but here. This place stinks. George, don't go. Let's talk. We can work this out, she pleaded desperately. I stopped and turned to face her. I'll stay if you promise me one thing. Never to mention this idea or anything like it again, and to promise to be faithful to me for the rest of our lives, just as we vowed at our wedding. Think of no other man, desire nothing but us. Her eyes betrayed the turmoil within her, her struggle was palpable, she seemed on the verge of collapse. "George, please, I think this might help us," it sounded like a rejection to me. I answered, opening the garage door. Maggie's cries for me to stay echoed behind me. "Wait, I swear, I promise I'll never mention this again, just don't leave." I turned around, thinking of one last thing. "I don't know who's been filling your head with this rubbish, but I'll find out. And if I find out you've been seeing him or sleeping with him, I'll divorce you. The truth is we're not dating, George, and nothing's happened, but there's a way." "Fine, go ahead, be with your boyfriend, you probably already are. Or we're not together. I promise, if you want to save our marriage, it's best not to lie, no more secrets, no more lies, no more games." "I'm not George, I swear. We just talked about it." "You talked about sleeping with another man, so it all confirms what I've been saying. Your demands are not meaningless sexual acts. You want my approval in order to be with a particular man. You've got it all planned out, and I'm sick of it." I said all this just to make her cry even more. "I can't even look at you right now. I'm sorry, George. I didn't think you'd react like this. He said you might be upset at first, but you'll come around." I shouted, "Who the hell is he?" "Who is he?" She paused. I glanced out the open garage door because you didn't tell me everything. "You chose him." Stephen admitted that Stephen Archer was the consultant you had recently worked with, the same person from the dinner at the Hurrah restaurant. "Yes, we've been talking about him. I need to sit down." I closed the door and returned to the table, facing Marge, and told her everything. I demanded that she answer everything. "Yes, I want to know all the conversations you had, what you did, and everything about this person." She nodded. "May I sit down?" "This is still your house," I replied, and she nodded again, sat down and began to explain how we had gotten into this mess over the next few hours. My wife shared everything she had done with Stephen Archer and how he had manipulated her. This had been going on for months. He had started slowly, influencing her with his nonsense. He was careful, knowing that if he went too far, she would sense it. According to her, they had only gone so far that she had not even kissed him. This was part of his strategy. He remained calm and collected, so that she would believe his intentions were innocent. He planned to wait until I agreed before acting. While she was talking, I realized two things. One was that my marriage might be in trouble, even if she broke things off with Stephen, and two was that Stephen would need to face the consequences. I needed to make a plan for both of these problems, but I didn't know what to do. I needed time to figure it out. "Are you still mad at me?" Maggie asked me. "I don't know how to describe how I feel. Maggie, I admit that deep down I'm hurt and angry that you would even consider what Stephen suggested. If you want to spice up your life, there are plenty of other options, like maybe not rejecting me every time I try to get intimate." Maggie looked down as if she were remorseful. After a while, she looked up. "What about the rest?" I sighed. "Deep down, I felt sorry for you. You've been cheated on by Stephen. It sounds good to want to forgive and move on." Maggie laughed. "Can we just forget about all this and go back to the way things were?" "No, we can't," I said. "To be honest, deep down I still want to walk away and never look back. I might end up forgiving you, but it will take time and effort." Maggie nodded. "Does this idea sound exciting or interesting to you deep down?" "Come on, Maggie," I exclaimed. "After all I've said, you're really going to ask me that?" "I'm sorry," she muttered, her face a mask of shame. "I'm really sorry. What happens next?" "Honestly, I'm not sure. I said I needed some time to figure out what I wanted, and the fact that you're still thinking about it says a lot. I'm really, really sorry. Please tell me you don't want a divorce. I don't know if I'm mad, but it's up to you. If I find out you're lying, it's over. If you don't shut Stephen up once and for all, it's over. He's probably going to ask about it. What should I do? You need to decide what to tell him. Do you talk outside of work? On the phone, by text, or in person?" "Not really," she explained. "We mainly talk at work. Stephen has made it clear that we shouldn't contact each other outside the office, but he might bring it up tomorrow. I don't know what to say. Should I just tell him to forget it? I'm definitely thinking about what to do about this guy who wants my wife." Maggie nodded. She muttered that they had just had their second child a few months ago. "Oh my God, Maggie," I blurted out, "he just had a baby and you're thinking about screwing him. What about his wife and their family? Have you considered them?" He said his wife was fine with it and that their marriage was very open-minded, and you actually believed him. She blushed, and it was clear she was beginning to realize how stupid she'd been. Yes, I think I believed him. I realize now how stupid I was. "Maggie," I said, "study her. If we want to save our marriage, you must support me, no matter what I do, or if you have any doubts or take his side, then forget it, we're splitting up. Honey, I'm on your side." Maggie assured me, "I swear, you and our daughter are everything to me." I got up to get my laptop, brought it back, switched it on and sat down next to Maggie. "Have you looked at his Facebook page?" "Yes, a few times, but he doesn't really use social media." I pushed the laptop towards her and asked her to help me look. She tapped away for a few moments and then said, "I found it. There's not much information that's visible to the public. Stephen's Facebook profile doesn't show his marital status, family situation, or even mention his wife, so I jumped to LinkedIn and searched for Steve Archer, where he revealed even more information than on Facebook. I know his wife's name." I asked Janet, and Maggie answered. I did a quick search for Janet Archer and found 2 results. Is she a real estate agent or an IT recruiter? He said she runs an upscale real estate agency that specializes in multi-million-dollar properties. Maggie said. I clicked on the link for the real estate agency and her profile popped up, showing a young, beautiful blonde. Is this her? I stared at Maggie's attractive middle-aged wife in the canyon and thought she must be the lover. Maggie replied, "I've never seen her pic, but that lady doesn't match the description he gave me. He said she was older, overweight, and not pretty." I laughed. Of course he would say that. Janet Archer looked young, healthy, and stunning. I opened her Facebook page. "Here," I said, "her public profile says she is married to a man named Steve and has 2 daughters, Selena and Catherine. That sounds familiar, doesn't it?" Maggie stared at the woman's photo and said, "That's the name of Steve's daughters." I scrolled down and found a bunch of family photos, some from a recent youth cheerleading event, with Janet in the photo with her daughters, and smiling next to her was Steve. Maggie exclaimed, "It's him." "Never mind, Maggie," I said, "pull up some pictures of Steve and his wife." "Steve and his wife? He's got a beautiful wife at home, why is he still messing around with you?" She looked stung. "I don't know." She almost burst into tears and said, "That's not what he told me." "You said they had an open marriage, right?" I asked. "He did say that." Maggie answered uncertainly. I found a few bikini pictures of Janet and whistled. Maybe I overreacted. I stared at Janet's pretty face. Maybe I misunderstood. "What do you mean?" Maggie asked. "Do you have his phone number?" I asked Maggie, who looked nervous. "Yes, why don't you call him?" "No," I said. "And you?" Maggie looked shocked. "I can't do that." "Wait, you said you were on my side and would support me whatever I decided, right?" She nodded. "Yes, I did. So are you still on my side?" "I admit it." "Very well," I said. "Then give him a call." "Okay, I will," Maggie agreed. But before she could speak, she stopped. "Can I ask why?" I grinned. "Stephen wants to sleep with you, doesn't he?" Maggie nodded. "If I'm going to let him do that, don't you think it's only fair that I sleep with his wife?" Maggie said, "Seriously, you want to sleep with his wife?" "Look at her," I said, pointing at the picture of Janet Archer and the skimpy bikini. "She's stunning." "It's impossible," Maggie said firmly, and I laughed. "You want to spice up our sex life?" "Yes," Maggie said, crossing her arms. "I did that, and you think hooking up with Stephen will do it?" I clarified, "Wouldn't it be more exciting if I also hooked up with his wife? I mean, they practice an open marriage." "Yeah, but," Maggie hesitated. "This has nothing to do with you and some random woman." "But oh, really, really?" I grinned. "So she's a random woman?" "She's married to Stephen, she can be with other men. You married me, you want the same thing, so aren't you just like her?" Maggie gave me a blank look. "No, it's not the same." "Why do I ask?" What's the difference between me going out with Janet and you going out with Steven? She's so pretty. Maggie insisted that it would be okay if I went out with someone less pretty. I questioned, no, that's not what I mean. Maggie said in a frustrated tone, it's just not the same. Are you worried that I'll enjoy it too much? I asked tentatively, maybe, or that I'll prefer her to you. I continued, maybe, or that you're afraid I'll think about her when I'm with you. I pressed, yes, damn it. Maggie reluctantly admitted, I see what you mean. I thought we agreed not to bring this up again. Yes, but that was before I met her and seriously considered your thoughts. I admit, oh, so just because you think you can date a hot girl, you suddenly forgive me and Steven. Maggie retorts, exactly. I reply enthusiastically, why not? You're an asshole. Maggie declares, wait, I'm an asshole because I want to be fair, you're the one who wants to date someone else, I'm just going along with it. I argued, no, you're messing with my head. You want to be intimate with someone else, but you don't want me to do the same. You're just trying to confuse me. I told her that wasn't true. Maggie was getting agitated. Maggie, let's calm down and talk about this like adults. I tried to reason with her in her own words. I was beginning to think this was good for us. I don't want to get involved. Maggie insisted. You're trying to talk me out of doing this. I realized this was a mistake. This was a mistake. Let's just forget about it. Don't worry. I used Maggie's phone to find his number and started dialing. No, your friend. Let's see what he has to say. No, Maggie yelled and hung up. Don't call him. Calm down. I motioned to her to be quiet. It's okay, honey, the phone's connected. I put the phone on speaker so Maggie could hear both sides of the conversation. A man answered in a low voice. Maggie, I told you not to call me at home. Hi, is this Stephen Archer? I asked. Speak up, please. There was a long silence on the line, then a click, and then the line went dead. That's strange, I said to my wife, we've been cut off, let me call back. Maggie picked up the phone, please don't, shoo, I whispered to her, hold the phone away from your ear, it sounds like you have other ideas. Hello, Stephen, I'm Maggie's husband, are you still there? I asked. Yes, what do you want? Stephen answered, sounding annoyed. Is this a bad time? I asked. What do you want? He repeated it, sounding even more annoyed. Okay, I started, Maggie mentioned you about the dating thing, and there was a moment of silence before the other person finally responded, I think it's okay. I said, Maggie tried to interrupt, but I silenced her and continued, of course, there are some clear boundaries and agreements between us. Stephen's response sounded confused. Yes, I confirmed, if you're going to date my wife, do it openly and without secrets, right? Sure. Stephen's response lacked conviction. I mean, we don't want to keep our marriage together with lies and tricks. And tricks. I love Marge and want to keep her, so I agree, as long as we can all be honest and know the truth. Cool. Stephen agreed, which sounded reasonable. Marge stared at me incredulously, her mouth wide open. When I glanced over at her, she shook her head and said, honey, I don't want to go on. I waved her off and turned to Stephen and said, why don't you get Janet on the phone and put the phone on speakerphone? Stephen responds with a shocked voice. Why don't you put your wife Janet on, the mother of your two daughters Selena and Catherine, the woman with whom you maintain an open relationship, so she can hear all the details? Listen, you bastard, Stephen yells. I don't know what game you're playing. I interrupt him. Stephen, I'm not playing a game. I assure him that Marge told me that you and Janet are swingers and that you have no problem with anyone she's slept with. Problem. We were looking at her bikini photos on Facebook, and I must say, I'm glad to be with her while you're with my wife. You. He suddenly shouted, I'll be with Janet, your wife, while you're with Maggie, my wife. Isn't that swapping partners? Keep my wife out of this, you bastard. Stephen demanded. Stephen, man, I said calmly, it's a bit late for that now. You've been after my wife for months. Isn't Janet pregnant with Selena's baby? Time to congratulate her on the birth of her child. I bet Janet is ready to take action. He shouted, shut up. I told you not to hit on Janet. Oh, so she doesn't know you're courting Maggie. I thought you had an open marriage. I glanced at Maggie, who was crying with her hands over her face. I heard a woman's voice in the background, "Honey, what's wrong?" His wife. "Oh, yes." I continued, "Today is a big day. Catherine has a cheerleading competition this afternoon." "How do you know that?" he asked angrily. "What can you find out on Facebook?" I laughed. I had an idea. I waited for his response. He thought for a moment and asked what the idea was. Finally he asked, "Why don't we go to the competition with Maggie? We'll show her what she's missed, and then we can go to the pub for a few drinks, get acquainted, and go back and have a nice evening. I'll even let you and Maggie have the master bedroom." Stephen hung up the phone with a growl, and then hissed, "Stay away from my wife and kids, asshole. If I see you near us, I'll beat the shit out of you." "Hey, calm down, Stephen," I told him firmly. "You said we shouldn't keep secrets, everyone should know, including Janet." "Fuck you, asshole," he shouted, "and don't call me again." "Fine, I'll just call Janet directly." Then, before he could hang up, I quickly responded, "Wait, Stephen, how did you get her number?" "Stephen, that's not important. The point is that everyone knows about you and my wife and your intentions," I told him. He was silent for a moment, then asked, "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stay away from my wife," I said flatly. "If I find out you've been anywhere near her, I'll tell Janet everything." Clear and transparent about everything, he meekly responded, "But we work together and I can't avoid her completely. Maggie was on leave for the next 2 weeks, and I told him that when she came back, you'd better have left that company. You're a consultant, tell your boss that one of the wives has got too close and it's best to move your account elsewhere. They'll probably get rid of you before Maggie comes back." "If I don't," he challenged. I turned to Margie. "Margie called Janet on your phone and told her everything." She looked at me, surprised, thinking I was bluffing, but Stephen didn't know that I signaled Margie to go along. She said, "Okay," and she wiped away a tear. Stephen shouted, "Okay, I'll talk to them first thing tomorrow morning." I replied, "You're not as dumb as Margie thinks you are. One last thing, Maggie can hear you now. Apologize to my wife." I could feel Stephen's anger. He took a deep breath and muttered, "I'm sorry, Maggie." Before Maggie could reply, I interrupted, "Don't ever contact my wife again. Now get ready to go to the cheerleading competition with the family. I hope everything goes well for Catherine." I hung up the phone, threw it on the counter, and faced Maggie. She looked up at me with pleading eyes. "I'm really sorry," she said, "but I signaled her to call the boss tomorrow and explain that there was an urgent family matter and she needed to take some time off." I instructed her, avoiding eye contact, to pull down her trousers now, bend over and rest on the table. "Let me show you how I feel," I ordered. Maggie looked me in the eye and felt my anger. She bit her lip and obeyed, bending over the table and pushing our untouched breakfast away. I stood behind her and gave her a hard spank that left a bright red mark. She winced in pain. I growled, and then made love to my wife more intensely than ever before.